Happy Friday, Infiniteers, and welcome back for a new episode of Toy Box Classics. Today's toy box is a little different from most of the others in this series. It is not a recreation of a classic toy box. It really isn't even an update to one. Instead, it borrows ideas from two classic toy boxes to create something new. Toy Box TV Episode 6 presented the winners of the Underwater Challenge, and one of the classic toy boxes in that episode was Turtle Talk, which took 4th place. This looked like a really neat toy box to me. I loved how the toy box artist, Father 911, used super cannons to simulate the East Australian current, and I loved how he used basic blocks to create turtles, manta rays, whales, and other marine life. This toy box just had a really cool vibe to me, and it was something unique and different from many of the other classic toy boxes. But when I watched a playthrough of the toy box, there really wasn't much to it. The player just rode the super cannons around the toy box in an infinite loop, which was cool, but I felt like there should be more for the player to do in the toy box besides that. Now, there was also another classic toy box presented in that episode called Pearl's Adventure by Vasuri83, which took 3rd place. And one of the things that I liked about that toy box was their take on the jellyfish forest. I liked how they used the manhole covers to simulate jumping across the jellies, and how the player ended up in a super cannon that put them on the back of a sea turtle, and then how the player could jump across turtle to turtle. So I decided to combine those two ideas into a single new toy box. And to give the player a purpose and something to do, I created a simple collection quest that gives the player a reason to travel among the marine life in the AAC. So my toy box is more of a 3D platformer. But I kept the name Turtle Talk as an homage to the classic toy box that inspired this the most. Now, this toy box is going to take a few episodes to build, and I'll do the playthrough today and build the starting reef here with the jellyfish forest. We'll do that today. Next time, I'll show you how to build the marine life out in the EAC. And then in the 3rd episode, I'll show you how to hook up the logic for the collection quest, which is actually very simple and very easy to do, and that will probably be a very short episode. Alright, so let's play through the toy box. And again, as I said, we start here on this little reef. And there's 2 ways to get onto the jellyfish. You can go this way, or you can go this way. And it doesn't really matter. They both go to the same place. And then you just kind of ride the manhole covers here and bounce across the jellies for a little while. Kind of out of control, like Dory and Marlin did. And then we hit the super cannons, and that launches us out into the EAC. And here come all the turtles and their friends, and we end up on the back of Crush. So as we look around, we got a whale down there, we got a manta ray over there, some more turtles back there. And by the way, you can't even see where we came from because we came so far. But there's a radar marker up ahead, so we come up to that, and Crush says collect the coins. And you'll notice there's a bunch of radar markers on the radar and a lot of collectibles around the different animals. And that's our job, is to figure out how to get to those and pick them up. So we get to ride around just like we did in the original toy box, but this gives us a purpose for doing that, which I thought was needed. Some of these can be pretty challenging to try to get. There we go. As you can see, there's all kinds of things, different places to go. There's a super cannon back there. And there's super cannon up that way. So let's just try this one next. And that puts us on the back of this manta ray. So it's really just a simple collection quest with a little platforming. But I like it because it's kind of fun. I like the setting. I like having Dory and Nemo have a little thing that they can do here. Alright, so now we're back on Crush's back. And let's try over this way this time. Whoops. There we go. Alright, so that one doesn't seem to go anywhere. That one does. Whoa. But again, I just thought this was kind of a neat setting. Alright, so this gives us a little bit different challenge here. There we go. Excuse me. And here we are back on this sea turtle again. Okay. Now, if we come over here, there is a cannon up here. Whoa! Takes us back to this point. And then we want to try to get down there. Ah, there we go. Okay. Whoa! So there we go. It's a very simple toy box, as I said. But it's kind of fun. And you could add more animals and more super cannons and more collectibles if you want. You could probably even add a few enemies or something on the back of those manta rays. But anyway, that's my take on Turtle Talk, the original toy box by Father 911, but with a different beginning based on the Jellyfish Forest from Pearl's Adventure by Vasuri83, and with the addition of a collection quest to give the player something to do. I hope you like it. Now I'll start showing you how to build it. And if you don't want to stick around for that part of the show, then please leave a comment before you go and let me know what you think of this toy box. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, on with the build. Okay, you guys still with me? Good. So once again, we're starting in an empty toy box, and I'm going to set the sky using the Nemo's Seascape Power Disc. I'm going to put that on my base, and that will change the sky to this nice underwater sky. If you do not have that, you can use a couple of different options. You can use the toy dispenser to try to get this. Or if you are on console and you have the latest update that has the Finding Dory resources, then you can come into the Sky Changer, go into Properties, go down to 3.0, and select either the Ocean Paradise or Moonlit paradise skies, depending if you want a nighttime sky or a daytime sky. But we're going to go ahead and delete that because we don't need it. Okay, and that gives us the sky. So now we want to choose the orientation, and I'm going to have my turtles swimming that direction so that when you look back that way you see the reef. And we're going to go all the way back to that edge of the toy box as far as we can go. And let's go ahead and select the piece of terrain that we're going to need. We're going to use probably this guy. Okay. And while we're here, we'll pick this up and take this with us. And again, we're just going to go this way as far as we can go. And let's turn around. Excuse me. And this way we can kind of see, hopefully, when we get to this end of the toy box. The idea is to get so far toward this end of the toy box that when we get on the super cannons and fly out that direction, that we will not be able to look back and see where we came from. There we go, and now we are at the end. So we're going to drop this here. That's going to put our our cursor way back over here again. See, you can't even see the starting pad where we started. And there it is there. So that's the idea. As we get way out that way, we won't be able to look back and see where we came from because it'll be hidden amongst all the detail on the reef. Okay, so now this goes as far as we can go in that direction. We can't go any further. So what I want to do now is bring this out to about here. And let's put our start pad up here again. This time we'll drop it actually on the terrain. Okay, and because we don't necessarily like to just have a square block of terrain there, and we have the memory for it in this toy box, let's go ahead and put a nice finishing edge around that. And to do that, we're going to use this piece. And by the way, let's go ahead and set the terrain theme here. And I'm going to use the Morro Bay Seascape. I'll set that to be my theme. If you are not on a console and you don't have access to that, then you have a couple of alternatives. You can use any sandy theme that you want. So Pirates sand or desert sand or Tatooine, any of those would work. There is also the Nemo power disc for the terrain theme that you can use, and that will work as well. So if you have that and you're on console, you can do that. And then of course you can also use the toy dispenser. And let's turn this thing around. Okay, and then we'll put a finishing touch here around the perimeter of this whole little island here. Just like that. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and begin putting in the jellyfish. And to do that, we're going to use some spacer blocks here. And we'll place the first one right here. And let me zoom out a little bit so you can see where that's at. Again, we're building over in that direction. The other spacer block is going to sit like that. Okay. And then for the top of the jellyfish, we will use the full dome. We're going to set that right here off the end of that. All right, for the jellyfish texture, I'm going to use the carpet texture. There's a number of other textures you could use if you don't like this one, but this is what was originally used, and I thought it worked pretty well. So we'll go ahead and use that for the top of the jellyfish. Okay. And then we're going to just place some spacer blocks in here temporarily, just so we can get the spacing correct on these. And we'll take these rectangular blocks out when we're done, but for right now, this is what we gotta have. I believe that's the correct one here. Yeah. Here we go. And while we're right here, do that on this next one as well. And that should fit in there nicely, just like that. Okay. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm just trying to find my next screenshot here to figure out where we gotta go next. I'm going to build the ones we jump on first, and then we'll put the other ones in around them. And by the way, I placed these originally by trial and error, just so you know. You put the manhole cover on, you put the jellyfish down, you step on the manhole cover and figure out where you end up, and that's where you put the next one of these. And then you do the same thing and figure out where the next one goes. So that's really what I did here, just in case you're wondering. Okay, so we end up here, and then I lost my place. I don't think I took very good screenshots here. Okay, so we're going to pick up this one next. Alright, this one will sit here. This time we're going to put a block sitting here like this. Yeah. Okay, and that brings us to that point. And then we're going to drop down another one of these over on this side. And the idea is to kind of bounce up and down around this thing. I want it to kind of feel like you're out of control. Okay, that brings us there. And then we're going to start moving another direction. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to pick it up. So we'll bounce over this way a little ways. Like that. Drop down another dome. I know this kind of looks a little like a mess right now, but we're almost done with this part of it. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing again. That gets you to this point. This will be the top block, the last jellyfish. And then we're going to go 2 of these, followed by 1 of these, and then we drop down our super cannon. And the super cannon needs to go that way. And we're going to bring this out just like that. Okay? So there we go. Okay, let's drop down a temporary block out here that we can land on, just so we can kind of test this out. And what we're going to do next is put down the manhole covers. And you find those under the gameplay toys. If you go left through the collectibles, we're looking for the Monsters University pranking toys. We have to go a little ways to get to them. I don't think it would have been any faster to go the other way. All right, it's the Scream Energy Launcher. And so what we're going to do is place one of these on the top of each dome. This one's going to shoot us that way. This next one is going to shoot us that way. Going that way. Okay. And then we get up to this one, and we go that way. That gets us up here. From here, we go down to that one. From here, we go up to the next one. From here, we go across. Then we go that way. final one should shoot us up into the super cannon. Okay, and then before you build any further, we should test this out in case we need to move any of our jellyfish. Oh. Now that time we were blocked by that block, so I'm not too worried about that. And that puts us out here. Okay, so that worked. And if you're worried about whether or not this block is a problem, we can move that temporarily. And we'll try it again, just to make sure, because we want to be sure before we build the whole jellyfish forest here, that our path out of it is going to be unobstructed. There we go. Yep. And one of the things you'll notice with these manhole covers is sometimes it'll work the first time, and then you'll try it a few times, and one time it won't work. So it's good, again, just to test it a few times. And I verified that it was this block that was blocking us, but again, this is temporary. We're going to take these out before we're all done. Okay. Now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the other jellyfish in offline because it's going to take a while. But before I do that, let me show you how to do the tentacles. In the original toy box, they used these blocks with the hologram texture, which was okay, but I didn't really care for that. And so what we're going to do instead, we're going to come up to the platforming toys. And I like the look of this better myself. We're going to use pipe climbs. Okay? And we're going to put these out here like this. And I'm going to style mine to use the gray theme. So you want it near the edge of the jellyfish. You can't go this way. And because of the bounding box, you can't really put them all in here. They're going to collide with each other. So the bounding boxes have to be facing outward. And you don't want to make them all the same length either. So you can make a few of them shorter. You can do a few of them longer if you want. Now you'll notice this one and this one, that one's sitting actually right over top of this one. So make sure when you put the tentacles in, you don't go down too far, because the player needs a clear, unobstructed path to bounce up from that manhole cover to that one. So the tentacles on this one can't go down too far. So I wouldn't go any longer than the long pipe climb. Okay. And you may have to take that block out before you can put your tentacle in here for that side. But something to be aware of. That's how you're going to do the tentacles. Just kind of make them longer lengths. You can take these and add another segment to make them really long, or you can make them kind of shortish or average size or whatever. Okay, so let me go offline and put the rest of the jellyfish and the tentacles in, and I'll put in a few plant clusters here on the reef, and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, before I put the tentacles in and all the details, I thought it would be a good idea to show you where the jellyfish are all placed, because it's going to get hard to see once I add the tentacles in. So if we come down here where we started, you'll notice we've added some blocks here leading up to another jellyfish, and then these blocks placed in here like that to lead to another jellyfish. Okay? And then continuing on a little further, we added this block here with the jellyfish, and I recolored these blocks just to make it easier to tell them apart from the jellyfish and see the jellyfish heads. Alright, so then you come around, and we had this block here before and that block. And then I added these two blocks on the corner of that, plus this. And I added this block like that with another jellyfish here. From here, 2 blocks and another jellyfish. These blocks here and another jellyfish. And then these blocks and another jellyfish. And then these blocks and another jellyfish. Okay? And all of those came off of this. And then I added these coming off of there. I'm trying to figure out how to spin this around to give you the best look at this, but again, it's off of this block here. These 3 blocks. Then this one and another jellyfish. Okay? And then continuing on, we had this one and this one. And I added these 3 blocks here and a jellyfish. When we get over to this point, I added this block and a jellyfish. And then where we had the 2 long blocks with the jellyfish in the middle, I added 2 of these blocks here stacked on that corner, followed by that. 2 blocks followed by that. On this side, this block, those, followed by that. On the very corner of this jellyfish here, we added this block leading to here, 2 blocks leading to here. Okay? And then following this on around, on the last, just before the last jellyfish, we added this block with another jellyfish, these 2 blocks and another one. Okay? So hopefully that tells you where I placed mine. Again, you can move yours anywhere you want. You can add a few extras if you want, but that's where I put mine. And now I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these helper blocks and put the tentacles and the details in. So I figured those would obscure your view of where I put these jellyfish. And these blocks will prevent me from putting the tentacles in. And so I'm going to do that offline, and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, I am back, and I have finished my build for the reef and the jellyfish forest. So let me give you a brief aerial tour, and I'll show you the building pieces that I used and where you can find them in the editor. And again, feel free to pause this video along the way so you can copy what you see in your own toy box. Also, I know some of you like to recreate my toy boxes exactly as I make them, but you're certainly welcome to make changes. You don't have to use the exact same plants that I have used or place them exactly as I did. Again, it's your game, and you can customize this world however you like. But I placed some plant clusters down here. These are the first 9 pieces out of the plants drawer. And note the orientation of the flowers and the plants themselves. For this big tree, notice where this little sprig is on the corner there. And to style these, we're going to come in here and we're going to use the Morro Bay terrain. And I will theme all. Are you sure? Yes. If you are on a console that does not have that theme, or you're on PC, what you can do instead is use the toy dispenser at this point and try to get the capsule for the Nemo's terrain, the Marlin's Reef terrain customization power disc. And that's the one you would want to use if you do not have this terrain, this plant theme. So Marlin's Reef. And if you're on console and don't have that customization power discs, then use the toy dispenser to get it. But again, you want to add the plants and the terrain first before you do that. Okay, and then I added the pipe climbs to all of the little domes here in order to add the tentacles. And you can see how they're different lengths. Some, like this one over here, has several of these stacked on each other. Some don't. Some just have smaller ones, like one. And the idea is you want those things to dangle down so that as you're going through the jellyfish forest, it feels like you're going through the forest. So you want some of those tentacles to come down. Be careful though when you have like this one up here is actually directly over top of this one. So you can't make the tentacles go down too far because you don't want to block the player's path as they're bouncing along these things. So you want to make sure they have a clear, unobstructed path through the tentacles. And again, when you finish placing them, it's a good idea to come in and test that out. And just make sure you can bounce from jellyfish to jellyfish without colliding with any tentacles. Because you'll notice how high he bounces as he comes down on each of these manhole covers. And so I've placed my tentacles without any obstruction to the player's path. But again, you can kind of see how that looks. Make those as long as you want or short as you want. I think longer, like I've got here, is better. Obviously on some of them down here, like these ones that are closer to the bottom edge of the toy box, you can't go down too far, nor do you need to, because the player really isn't going to see those too much. It's mainly these ones that are floating higher that you want to drop the tentacles down to kind of fill the space. And hopefully this gives you a good idea of what I did. And notice how they're different lengths. Some of these are a little longer than the others. And there you go. So that's it for the reef and the jellyfish forest. Next week we will come back to this toy box and I'll show you how to use the basic blocks to build the marine life out in the EAC. Thank you for watching. Before you go, leave a comment to let me know what you think of this toy box and my build for the jellyfish forest. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, just click my photo in the lower right corner so you won't miss the next episode. That's all for me today. Have a great weekend.